Hello, everybody, and welcome to Spergonomics episode 26. And today is a special episode. I think it's our first proper debate, I would say, that is specifically geared towards that format. This isn't like going to be a blood sports thing or anything. I mean, it might degenerate into that, but I'll make sure it won't as today's moderator. And now, yeah, I know there's a bit of a clickbait title, private property versus freedom of speech. It isn't really versus. It's kind of more different than that, but nonetheless, that is the subject. Whether or not the two can sometimes conflict with each other. And with me is our guest, Haryan Gláeddyv. How are you doing?
Beanus. I'm doing good.
And what side are you going to be on today?
Well, I don't know. Chadis, what's your name? Chicago Liberal was just like,
Yeah.
oh, do you want to come on Spergonomics and debate it? And I'm like, debate free speech? I think we agree. But I basically think, property rights do generally come first before free speech. But given the way government works, there's quite a lot of places where you should probably put free speech before property rights as well. But, we'll get into it.
Yeah, and Chicago Liberal, you're obviously the opposite side, kind of, maybe.
Kind of maybe, but I'm going to play devil's advocate to go and see just how far Haryan is going to take this.
And Alkazai is here, but he's going to be AFK. He has important things to do. But say hello. Go on.
Hello. Oh, Alkazai.
Hello.
There you are. Now, first, I will bring up my notes. So, first and foremost is, Haryan, why do you think that private property is more important than free speech?
Because then the government's imposing on private property it's like the opposite. Instead of saying what can't be said on your private property, they say, oh, you have to accept every form of speech on your private property. When, let's say in my house or business, I don't want communists, let's say, in either of them. I don't want people spouting out communist propaganda in the middle of my shop. I should have the right to remove him. And so property rights comes first there.
First and foremost...
but it's a bit different with social media, but I think we can get into that later. But generally, it's the whole thing of a man's home is his castle, and all his property is his property. It's up to him what can and can't be said on it, generally. And then, as I say, social media is the really weird one with it, but we will get into that.
So,
yeah, pretty solid on that.
Is there any situations where you would say that free speech would trump that, even on private property, just in a person's home?
Just public property, just generally public property, I guess.
So, like in a supermarket, yeah. Or would that?
Well, no, not even that. No, that is private.
Okay.
No, I mean the town. Pub, yeah, I guess. If someone's using abusive language there, I get that, but I think that's different to free speech, because then everyone's like, oh, you want people to call me Owen Jones always said it. It's like, oh, should people be able to call me slurs on the street? And it's just that's just reducto ad absurdum. It's not really useful, because that's not what people are talking about. People aren't defending the right to we are defending the right to insult, but we're not defending the right to harass to the point of threatening. So it's sort of, you'd have to give me a specific example where I'd say property rights first, or free speech first, which I think is why you should.
Say, for example, okay, this is a really easy one, because I should have planned this more. But anyway, somebody shouts "Stop thief" in public. That's pretty straightforward. They should be allowed to say that. That doesn't trump anybody's rights or anything like that. Although there was laws where it stated that you had to... this is really old. This is getting into this medieval era. There were laws that stated you had to follow that hue and cry. That's what they called it, the hue and cry. And if you didn't, you could be arrested. Would you say that that's silly, that you shouldn't be arrested if you don't act on it?
Oh, I don't even think you should be... punished for shouting fire in a movie theatre.
Yeah, that's more of a example.
No, cause it's like, oh, what if someone dies from it? It's I don't know. People don't really panic at that though. We're in the age of fire drills. Everyone's quite orderly when we leave, and people tend to panic when they actually see the danger rather than hear about it.
Yeah, they can. I don't think people are so stupid to think there's a fire where there is none.
Yeah, you'd be like, oh, trust it. It's like, oh, Like we do fire drills all the time. We walk out in an orderly fashion, or all that. So yeah, I think that's a stupid argument. I've never really understood it, or understood why people think it's a good counter argument to it. But
Kind of a. I guess
like
you
even
you would say that's like an argument ad absurdum. Would you say? Or is that just
yeah, that's another one.
Yeah.
No, that is another one. Yeah, it's like it's an absurd situation. It's not quite ad absurdum. But it is a stupid argument to make. Cause it does. What's it mean? It's like, oh, you shouldn't be able to say fire in a film theatre when there isn't one. It's like, why?
So
And then,
I think we should move on to
Yeah,
Chicago though.
I just really love the word fire.
Thank you,
yeah,
Akasai.
maybe they have
Brilliant
Tourette's.
But anyway,
Arrest all people with Tourette's.
we'll arrest you in a minute.
Oh no.
Oh, come on.
Oh,
There he goes.
that was
Right.
But anyway, Chicago. So you're playing for the most part devil's advocate, did you say, right?
Yeah,
So
but
what-
really only for, things like how this goes with social media, because I'm going to argue that, social media should be treated differently than a supermarket, because they're both, in a sense, the public square
So
of some sort.
sorry, go on, Chicago.
Oh, I was just saying that, as a supermarket can go and refuse service to you, for example, if you're not wearing a face mask, which that is a public safety thing, and that's fully within their rights to do that. Well, then, logically, Twitter can go and refuse service to you if you are deemed by them a risk.
So what would you say is the right that is more important, or would you say it's more equal?
It's more equal, but I'm going to, for the sake of ensuring that both myself and Haryan actually understand our side even more, I'm going to argue that property rights is more supreme.
So you agree on that?
yes,
issue then, yeah?
we agree. Yeah.
Yeah, we agree, but I'm playing devil's advocate because it's fun.
So what would you say? So playing devil's advocate, why would you say that free speech is more important?
No, I'm saying that property rights are more important on social media than free speech.
Fair enough. So anyway, let's move on to my next note, which is so how would you think that this conflict has been created? Like, how have we gotten to this situation where even in America anyway, especially, you're protected from government censorship, yet there is censorship. It's very obvious censorship of people for their political views online. So how would you say we've gotten to this point where these rights are in many ways conflicting on these platforms? Chicago, you
Well, go on. Yeah.
It's basically that the right wing in the United States, conservative ink is becoming more and more populist, and that's really starting to annoy the elites. And the elites are the people who run social media as well, because they're in Silicon Valley. So I think that's how we've gotten to this point.
What about you, Haryan?
Because remember,
Oh, sorry, Chicago. Do you want to continue that?
No, go on, finish it.
remember that when Obama was president, the Republicans were still very much neocons, but these days they're really not neocons anymore per se. Although the neocons still, are the main donors.
Yeah, they've still got neocons. It's just the people at the front are more Trumpians or Trump's ilk. Because the new press secretaries, like, she is really good at the job. I have to say. But yeah, do you want me to say why I think there's a big schism with free speech and property rights? I basically think it's because, especially on social media, they're treated as platforms, but they act as publishers. So what I mean by that is they'll pick and choose who they do actually have a platform for, but then they're not treated as if they're doing that by the government. They're treated as platforms, as if, oh, everyone can go on it, when that's clearly not true. Which is why I think Trump sent out the tweet today saying, oh, I'll stop Google, Facebook, and all that from having complete say on who can say what on the public platform. Because if they're treated as publishers, YouTube would get in trouble if anything illegal was put on YouTube, but they're not. But at the same time, they're curating things that aren't legal. So it's like the Styx Hexenhammer video the other day about Trump's disinfectant being injected into humans line. He was basically explaining why that's not the most retarded thing in the world to say, but it got taken down by YouTube for being quote unquote misinformation, which there was no misinformation whatsoever in the video. And even then, it's not even in their guidelines anywhere that misinformation can get it taken down. I looked through them all today, and there's nothing there about misinformation.
There will
There's
be
things about. Oh no, the closest thing they ever got was saying, if you encourage people to drink bleach because you say it's healthy, things like that can get taken down. But that's not what Styx Hexenhammer was doing. And it's like, they say misinformation because it's really vague.
What I meant to say was that eventually we will be punished for misinformation, whatever that is.
By the government.
I mean, by YouTube, they will add that into their their terms
Oh
of
yeah.
service.
Yeah, this is the thing. They codify things after they've actually punished people.
Yeah.
This happened with Drunk Uncle. He got his channel completely taken down, and then soon after that, they put in the thing. Oh, you can't. Like, they basically banned reply videos. I mean, I'll completely ignore that, but it's.
Well, what they did was they made it so difficult. It was basically a ban. So you can still do a reply video. Like I think I did a reply. Well, I did a reply stream to Twitter, and it's still up because I didn't actually. Maybe I did insult them, but I got away with it somehow. But basically, what you can't do is ad hominem. You can't even make a joke about the person because then they could because that's breaking the rules.
Yeah, it technically is. I mean, I've got that Ashley Coffin one from the other week.
Ashley.
Because I call her a communist retard quite a few times, but it's still. She is a communist retard. But this is the thing.
I mean, that's just the truth. That's not ad hominem.
But yeah, this is the thing. If they do take it off, that's acting as a publisher. They're curating what can actually go on their website, and at that point, they have to be culpable for everything that's put on their website. So if the American government actually treated them like a publisher, they'd lose so much money they'd probably get rid of YouTube. Or either that or sell it, and then the next lot will be like, oh, well, we can't curate then, and then YouTube would be as it should be. And it's the same with Twitter, Facebook, and all that. They're not acting as platforms, they're acting as publishers, but they're treated by the government as if they are platforms. And so because of that, free speech is under attack, because our quote-unquote public platforms, a force that isn't the government is saying what can and can't be speech. And generally, the American government's okay. It's a lot better than Europe anyway at deeming what is acceptable speech.
Yeah.
Because most free speech... Go on.
It's also because America... the Supreme Court has done the decision that hate speech is in fact not different to free speech.
Yeah.
So, however, acting on hate speech is still a crime, because obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's completely reasonable. Like,
yeah,
it should be illegal to how do you? Well, when you say act on hate speech, you mean assault or
like lynch people? You can't do that here.
Yeah, because I'm even iffy about arbitrarily discriminating on basis of race or something like that. It's like, well, why shouldn't a company be able to do that? Because any company does that, they'll be boycotted to death.
It's probably
so I don't think it matters.
The scope of the discussion though about
It is, yeah.
I just want to keep it on topic. That's all, guys.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's still somewhat on topic.
Kind
since,
of, but it's more like employment.
It's how far a company can go before there's outcry by both the government and the public.
You can argue that, can't you? Yeah. But so anyway, let's get into the.
I know what you mean.
Let's get into the big meaty bit that we've been touching on already. We might as well just get to it. So.
My body is ready.
Your body is ready. Yeah. Was it ready for the priest, Haryan?
It was not ready for the priest. He came out of nowhere.
So anyway, as we all know, so social media websites, but in particular, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Who else? I'm trying to think of another one. Oh, there is another one, isn't there? Oh, well.
Instagram.
that's more Facebook, isn't it? Because they own it. But
that is fake.
let's keep it to the big three.
Well, it's like YouTube is to Google. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
It's not
Twitch maybe
not
as
quite
well.
the
Well,
same
Twitch
thing.
is slightly different because their rules are
No, that's bad as well.
that's bad, but their rules are actually not in any. I think they're slightly different, but we'll keep it to the big three, where people make
go on.
actual content and not just streaming. So
Yeah.
there's been a big debate recently because of how they act about are these the new public square, because now you don't see people, less and less anyway, you don't see people on soapboxes discussing things and saying, like in Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park, for example, or in America, saying anywhere, any park, you don't see anybody doing that as much anymore. You still see street preachers, but nowadays public discussion where people just seem to spontaneously arrive to discuss ideas. They do it online, they do it on Twitter, they do it on Facebook to some extent, although that's more of a it's more of a private platform than it's in terms of how you do your conversations. But Twitter's it's literally like walking into the Roman Forum and then seeing your mates or some random guy. Are these now the new public platforms? Are these the new squares where we go and talk, or are they more like a public utility, like say gas or water, for example, but they don't deal with resources, unless you count ideas as resources, but more in terms of just enabling people to speak? Are they just platforms? Do they just allow us to do this thing, and do they have the right to decide who gets to go on it? Or are they publishers? Are they actually curating on their website who can and cannot be on there and who they would like to push? So for example, YouTube, would you say that they are publishers when they at first push YouTubers like, say, PewDiePie, although whether or not he was really pushed, I guess that's kind of debatable, but they definitely pushed people like the Paul Brothers and the Viners that invaded YouTube, although the Paul Brothers predate Vine. But and then later
I was going to say they were Disney, weren't they?
They were Disney, but they were on YouTube longer than PewDiePie was, actually, funnily enough. But also, now they're pushing corporations and just even corporations that aren't like news. They just people who make entertainment, like the BBC. They don't just do news. BBC Three has now moved to YouTube, for example. So is that now them acting like a publisher? Because now 50% of the content that they push is no longer creator driven, as in YouTube creators. It's pushed by corporations that they give a leg up. So is that acting like a publisher, or is it just being a platform? And BreadTube, for example, there's people who think, I'm one of them, who think that they've been given an arm and a leg up by YouTube because of us. But
I can see that. Yeah.
How would you say that they're a public space, or are they still private? What's going on? Do they have the right to censor and discriminate? Like, it gets a bit murky, doesn't it?
Bloody hell, you asked about 10 questions.
Sorry, it is a lot, isn't
it's
it?
Fine.
So.
No, it's fine. It's a lot to discuss. Well, I mean, is a supermarket a public place? Would you say? Because in my supermarket, for example, there's a notice board that local groups or whatever can pin their meetings and information up on.
Yeah.
It's like is that notice board the public forum? No, it isn't, because we can actually. I get when I did work at my local shop, I was like I was asked constantly like, oh, can I put this up on your notice board? And it's like, yeah, sure. And obviously there's only so much space, so you would have to technically censor someone to make room for it, but you do the one that had been on there the longest, for example, and things like that. So it's which is fine. But the thing with their social media is they have technically unlimited space. I mean, obviously it's limited because you can only have so much data or whatever, but we obviously have enough resources to technically have more data than we'd ever need. So I don't think that's necessarily comparable. But as I said before, I think it depends how it's treated by the government. If they are curating what can go on it, outside of illegality, then they are the public platform and should be treated as such. But the problem, as I said before, is they use that as a defense, like, oh, we're the public forum, but then act as if they're a private company censoring what can go on their public forum and all that. I'm fine one way or the other, by the way. I don't mind which way it is, as long as it's consistently treated as such by the people who use it and the government and the people in charge of the company.
So do you think they have the right to ban anybody for almost any reason, would you say?
Technically, yes. But they should be treated that. But if they start doing that, which they already have, then the government should be holding them accountable for everything that's on their website.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to bring in Chicago, though. What do you think?
Yeah.
He's been quiet for a bit.
Yeah, it's for them trying to formulate my response still. And Haryan just made my response for me, so I guess he wins.
Do you want to expand it? You got anything to add?
It's okay, I've been doing YouTube longer than you.
Well, I've been doing it longer than both of
you. I know.
Well, yeah, I do fully agree with Haryan that, the government should be at least consistent in how it enforces the law, and then the social media company should be consistent on how they follow the law.
So where is it that you guys...
that is what I said.
So where would you guys disagree? Would it be if they're publishers or platforms, for example?
I don't know if Chicago wants them to be one or the other. I'm in the mindset of I do not care if they're a publisher or a platform. I just want them consistently treated as such. And I do think there should be an online public platform. I'd say Gab maybe would be a good alternative if... Who's in charge of it? Andrew Torbett. Who is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Andrew Torbett. If he wasn't such a fucking mentalist, I'd probably move there. But he's happy to ban porn and quite a lot of lewd things, which Twitter are less likely to ban, but they ban conservatives.
So what's really going on there?
Yeah, I'm not a paedophile. Yeah, and it's like, Facebook's just a meme at this point. It's only really for old people. It's for the boomer generation who are late to the party.
I only use Facebook to go and talk with some relatives of my extended family and, chat with Mitch and stuff.
I only use it for chatting with some people, like, Chicago, and also just to make sure people get notifications. But Facebook have been actively trying to become vetters of information and news and things like that. And who's the other one? The News Corporation, news outlet, Snokes. You know who I mean?
News outlets.
Yeah,
well, it's Zuckerberg trying to go and exert more influence.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, it's just Zuckerberg.
Yeah, it sucks.
But he's trying. He's brought it upon him. Or at least initially, he's claimed to have had a change of heart. But he's been cooperating with governments like China, not China, maybe China, but Germany especially. Angela Merkel asked him to police Facebook to take down material that she considers to be either politically incorrect or horrible or obscene. And would you?
Yeah, I wouldn't blame that on Zuckerberg. I'd blame that entirely on Merkel.
He does have the right to say no because she's not actually his leader.
Yeah.
Technically, even if Donald Trump or even Barack Obama, it might have been when Obama was actually still president. Actually, I might be wrong. Even then, he can still say no because at that point, does that change the nature of Facebook from just a place where people chat and communicate with each other to something a bit more different? What would you guys say? Chicago?
Chicago?
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to go and, still process. So...
Sure, yeah. Haryan, what would you say? Does that change the nature of it when they start to collude with governments?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're no longer a platform, they're a government agent, which I don't think a public platform ever should be. This is the thing, they're already playing fast and loose with their policies, every single one of them are, but then they're colluding with governments, and then all of a sudden governments are playing fast and loose. Well, they already are with free speech, as we see everywhere, apart from the US, you lucky bastards.
See, this is why having firearms is great.
Dude, I do want to live in America. It's the only place I'd move to. But
Feel free. Wisconsin's pretty nice this time of year.
What, cold?
No, it's actually reasonably cool
Yeah.
because of the lakefront.
Reasonably
And also
cool.
it has low taxes.
It's reasonably cool, not cold. But anyway, but what I want to know is, like, because if they become publishers, does that mean therefore this is because what you were referring to earlier with YouTube or Twitter, where if they have stuff on there that's illegal, they're not going to be held accountable to it. That means that they lose what is called their safe harbor protection. So would you mean?
Yeah.
Would you be okay with them losing that protection as long as they become?
I think they should. I think they should have lost that protection about 10 years ago.
Although
I mean,
if YouTube didn't, we wouldn't be on here. To be fair.
Yeah, I know, but we would have BitChute, and if YouTube did what we all think YouTube want to do, and none of us were on here, we'd all just move to BitChute. I mean, it's shit, but it's something, isn't it? I'd definitely go on it a lot more.
I mean, I think aren't they less file sharing than they were? Because there was it's an interesting concept where it doesn't really have servers or something. I don't know how it works, but there's file sharing.
Yeah, it's done like torrenting. So it's peer to peer rather than to one centralized server, which is what YouTube does. So it's a bit confusing, but basically they do have a server, but if people are watching it, they'll send the information out to them, and then the information from there can go to any computer as well. So then every computer that's on BitChute kind of acts as a server, something like that anyway. So
do you think
it's a clever way to do it.
Do you think that could be a way to kind of circumvent the censorship? To maybe also,
No.
in many ways, maybe, or at the very least, it could change the way we make videos. So like, there's less onus on them to censor. Maybe, I don't know.
No, not really. Because that's more a way that the videos are hosted rather than it doesn't really affect censorship. Because all BitChute have to do then is just if it's off BitChute, you can't get to the video, so it doesn't really matter. Because even if you are going peer to peer, that video still has to be on BitChute to access it. So yeah, no, it doesn't really change anything really. It's just a different way of hosting videos. But either way, BitChute are the free speech platform, thank God. But it's really crap, so no one uses it.
Yeah, I don't use it. I use it as an archive.
Yeah, I mean, it's not taking my videos from YouTube for ages as well. It's just it's awful.
I'd have to check that on mine. Yeah,
it's not done it for about since last year basically. And I tried fixing it, but it just doesn't do it.
So anyway, Chicago, have you managed to formulate anything that you wanted to say? You've been processing for a while.
Did I steal it again?
Yeah. This is the issue of debating with someone who quite literally shares all of your views, and you're trying to pull devil's advocate, but only had like 2 days to actually formulate it all.
I mean, oh bloody hell! I can't even get onto my BitChute.
You can't even get on it now. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like please resolve error.
Also, there's actually one serious issue that I have with the government and how they do their social media websites, and it is they use very few websites to actually, disperse information. Things like hurricane warnings or tornado warnings. You're not going to get that on BitChute or Gab.
No.
You're only going to get it on Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah, true.
And if you don't get those warnings, you might actually die.
So here's a question for you, Chicago, though. You know, like how Jeremy Corbyn was trying to say that he wanted to nationalise... Well, first it was broadband, wasn't it? So you get free internet, right?
I think we need to go and privatize his house.
What would you think would happen if we nationalised these companies and turned them into basically...
They'll be even worse run because then Congress runs them. Why the hell would I want Congress to run them?
I'm just trying to get you to keep going. Let's have a hypothetical.
Yeah.
So they nationalise it. This is the most positive thing, right, that I can think of. They nationalise it, but they leave it alone. So it's kind of like walking down the street, basically, right? So it's more, so they nationalise it, but it's not necessarily owned by the government, but more it's a public space. Like how you can, have a common ground, like a field, for example, like that. It's not private property. Nobody owns it. Anybody can walk on it or do whatever. So Twitter becomes like that. Would you say that would be easier, or would you say it would be actually harder for us to make content on there? Is it easier to exploit?
Oh, it would be a lot harder because then it's what the government wants you to go and say and what it doesn't want you to say. And sure, in the US it might work, but only if they follow the Constitution to the letter and it's controlled by the Supreme Court and not Congress. But in Europe, it's going to be a hellhole.
Exactly, yeah. But then again, because the internet is everywhere, literally at once, it's kind of like Schrodinger's cat, isn't it? Right, in many ways. Is that even possible? Is it even possible for them to police everybody like that? If it's just one.
No. But they will try, and they will go and affect a lot of innocent people by their trying.
Well, they just have to do what every totalitarian government has always done, and basically employ citizens
Kill over
to
and
snitch.
die after a few years.
Well, that, yeah, obviously, but in the meantime, when they are actually somehow still alive, they're just going to have to hire citizens to say, like, oh, my mate Haryan makes videos, he said hate speech laws are, like, the worst thing ever, arrest him. They'd have to do it that way.
Here's a question for you
guys. Yeah, and there's one issue of them doing that in the US, and it's that you can go and figure out who does it by using the Freedom of Information Act, and then pretty much doxing them to the entire internet.
Nice.
So
that's what happened with the people who snitched on other people in Missouri for, not following quarantine.
Really?
They're now known to the entire state of Missouri.
Vigilante justice. Yay.
Karen justice.
They are.
It's almost like being a COVID Karen is actually bad for your future prospects in life.
Why do you think that Jack and Zuckerberg and Susan Wojcicki have decided to take it upon themselves to police the internet in such a way? But then they're also against things like, Article 13, for example. Like, where does it come from? Why have they decided to become the arbiters?
They want brownie points with the far left.
Basically, yeah. They want to feel moral and virtuous, and they think the way to do that is to silence normal people online, which I can understand. I mean, I think, quite a lot of people on the right think it's virtuous to throw communists out of helicopters, even though it's obviously not. Well, exactly, yeah.
I mean, there was a guy who famously said that he didn't kill humans, he killed communists.
Was that actually Pinochet?
No, that was a mercenary.
No, that was Raphael Ganowicz.
Yeah, he was a Polish guy, wasn't
right.
he? Yeah.
Polish anti-communist mercenary.
Yeah.
Hell, I'd hire him again.
that is based and red-pilled, my dude.
Just so YouTube knows, that is not hate speech. We are simply quoting somebody who was an
It's
historical
just
figure. Exactly.
Susan Wojcicki's an autist.
But do you think there is some government pressure, especially in like places like Europe and especially China, for them to do so? Otherwise, they can't. Maybe there's backdoor threats that they can't do business over there if they don't crack down.
Yeah, unironically, the people who are probably the best at stopping them in the political sphere are probably the Republicans in America. Because they're the only people opposed to any of it. And even then, like, they're not necessarily opposed to the principle, they're just opposed to their side getting oppressed. Does that make sense? So, because the Tories don't have any problem with that. The worst thing the Tories have to deal with are Ash Sarkar and people like that. Whereas in America, actual conservatives who are just milquetoast are getting silenced. I mean, the Tories don't really want Tommy Robinson on their side because they'll probably get rid of a lot of moderates.
Because then they actually have to be conservative.
Yeah, exactly. So it's crazy. It's
almost like being a one-nation party is actually really bad if you want to be right-wing.
Would you say that whoever controls the institutions, basically, let me rephrase that, hang on. So would you say whoever controls the institutions, guys, basically can determine how free the internet is, even though the internet is kind of aside from everything else, but it is kind of linked as well? Would you say whoever controls the cathedral, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at, determines how free it will be on here. So it would incentivize, for example, YouTube to be a bit more freedom-loving as opposed to censorious.
Yeah, until another party takes charge, then it's very censorious.
So, for example, if European governments, for example, had a more stronger. So Chicago, like say in European government, it depends which European country really. But say the UK, for example, if we changed our private property rights to be more secure for corporations and for people as well, smaller businesses or individuals, would you see corporations over here like YouTube and Twitter, would they be less likely to censor British content, or would they still do it anyway because of the ideological thing, or would they be incentivized to change?
You would definitely need to go and change your speech laws too.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
specifically the hate speech laws.
That and the Equality Act. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Equality Act is where it basically stems from.
Sorry, I couldn't give even the slightest crap.
Yeah, I know.
BAME, because BAME sounds stupid.
Yeah, why can't we just
BAME
say...
sounds like a knockoff Batman villain.
So why would they be against things like Article 13, though? Even though they're very eager to censor us?
Because
they want brownie points with the public.
Partially that, and partially because I think they basically get a load of their money from like music videos, and technically Article 13 would fuck them up on that.
Mm-hmm.
So they wouldn't be able to make money from Vivo videos and things like that and music. It'd ruin them all for that. So even though it is technically official, that's how badly worded Article 13 was. So that's why they're against that as well. But they also do want to seem like on the side of free speech. And that is a sort of version of free speech that even the left wing can get on board with. Because the left wing are really shallow and like music or something.
We've got a super chat here by our friend British Knight, who's late.
Well, you make money.
I make money. Well, I would have made about £3.50, I think, right? It's a man's fundamental right, above all things, to cultivate and own anime titty. No state may infringe on this right. John Coomer Locke. Now that is truly enlightened. I don't know about you guys.
Well, that is pretty enlightened. That sounds like that is something. It sounds like something he wrote down post nut.
Post nut.
This sounds exactly like Patrick Henry's famous quote: "Give me hentai or give me death."
It's a bit like Descartes. I nut, therefore I am. Oh, what was I gonna say before? Oh God, I've got to remember There was something that I just thought of. Oh well, when I'm trying to remember that, we'll move on. So
Giacomo Machiavelli.
I just want to say at this point, this has been the worst fucking debate of my life. I've had nothing to argue against.
I know, Chicago. What are you doing?
Chicago, you've been terrible.
You've not even played Devil's Advocate.
You love freedom like every red-blooded American? Gee, what a faggot.
Thank you, George III. Very cool.
Well, this one might get you guys to disagree on. But I don't know. It depends which one of you is more in favour of intervention or not. So, would you say that? I mean, it's obvious, right, that depending on which country you're in, obviously, free speech laws need to be, loosened and be freer. But
yes,
imagine that America and all European countries had the exact same First Amendment, right? Should the First Amendment, because of this situation that we're in on social media, should the government extend it to Twitter and YouTube so that they don't discriminate against other people for their opinions, unless they're actually inciting people to go out and kill?
Ooh.
And maybe even potentially private persons. So whichever one of you want to go first, you can go first.
That would actually play devil's advocate and say no, because these are private companies and therefore they also are protected by, I think, the Fourth Amendment.
Mm-hmm. And which one's the Fourth
is what
Amendment?
gives them their. I think the Fourth Amendment is what deals with freedom of property and giving people sovereign domain over their own property, which in this case would be Google over YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, then the governments would not be able to just outright tell YouTube what they can and cannot do on their own platform.
Mm-hmm.
I see. No, you've played devil's advocate, and I agree. Worst debate ever. But I will say this. So yeah, technically they can do what they want within, not offending others' rights or infringing on them. So okay, the government says okay. As I said before, you are no longer acting as a platform, act as a publisher then. So we'll treat you as such. And so because of that, because I said before, if they're treated as a publisher, then all of a sudden everything on their platform is culpable to them. Anything illegal on there, YouTube gets hit with the fine. Twitter has child porn or something on, Twitter gets hit with the fine. Whereas at the moment they're not, even though they are clearly curating their content. So I've been banned on Twitter for a day for posting, cunt or faggot or something in the same sentence.
And what's interesting is that there's been a lot of complaints, not necessarily at YouTube. I mean, there was with that ginger twat, but YouTube does actually.
What, me?
Not you, no. The other guy, the American one, he was trying to get the advertisers to leave because he said there was paedophiles on YouTube, which there is. I mean,
I don't remember.
You don't remember that? I have to send you a video about it. I'll send you a video.
And then YouTube as a response.
But it was massive.
Went after a whole family content.
But you should remember it because it started the second apocalypse, or third, whichever one it was. But
I don't remember the ginger guy. I remember the.
Yeah.
I remember the whole situation.
Yeah, he had a beard, but Twitter really doesn't. YouTube does act on paedophiles, but they can't stop them using the platform for innocent, for legitimate, innocent, and legal means. But they can stop, and they do and can try their best to stop them from posting horrible stuff, which they do, and formulating their horrible, circles and gangs. But Twitter, though, there's been many complaints. Like, I follow a fellow podcast called Digital Blackface. That's a plug for them. And they've always, like, the guy who's the second main host or first main host, depending on your opinion, Poe, he always goes on about how on Twitter they don't do anything. They're not responding to reports of people being, literally posting child porn and, other stuff. It's heinous crap. They don't do anything. So maybe turning them into publishers would incentivize them to actually clean it up.
Well, they're bloody acting as it as well, so they should do it anyway.
And also, I just remembered what I wanted to ask earlier. Oh, it's that echo.
Yeah, it's Cheddar.
I know.
You're all Cheddar. Chicago.
Oh, he's either.
I just saw his face.
Yeah. Don't worry, nobody else saw it. But
yeah, I know.
I think he had technical issues. I think he's probably on his phone. Here he is. You're fixed now, Chicago. Don't worry about it. So anyway, what I was going to ask before was, do you think like ad revenue is playing a role in incentivizing them to censor? Because as we always hear, advertisers apparently don't like to advertise on our content, like controversial content, violent content.
Yeah, I know.
Even if it's just for entertainment. So, for example, you make a short film, it's like The Matrix. You've done your version of The Matrix. It's like a rock gang, doing rock things, right? But because it's violent, they don't want to advertise on that yet. They'll play adverts for the actual Matrix on HBO or Sky Movies, right?
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
So would you say that that's incentivizing YouTube and Twitter? Well, Twitter less so because they don't really have as much ads, but YouTube especially because they don't really make much money. Do you think that pressure is making them want to censor people?
I think they're doing it.
That lobbying, if it is.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think they're doing it in spite of profit. To be honest.
Oh yeah, I think but, I'm trying to be neutral.
No, I know. Well, I know, but you're right. I'm just answering the question, really. Yeah, they're doing it. They're clearly doing it in spite of profit because YouTube's losing money constantly. It costs Google to keep it running. They won't fire Susan Wojcicki, even though she's clearly the worst person on the planet to run the platform.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally, a can of tuna would do better because it wouldn't do anything. So they're clearly doing it in spite of profit, and they're clearly doing it to keep, a cultural elite, which is just left wing and leftist, as we all know. And it's to keep them all high status with, the culture that we've got. And it's the same with advertisers. Advertisers are making adverts despite the fact that it loses them money. I mean, Gillette made that, that misandrist advert.
Lost $3 billion.
Yeah, they lost money, and they were like, yeah, this was a good thing. And it's like, what? You didn't actually change anyone's mind on manlyhood, though.
So, Chicago, would you say kind of removing the ad revenue might fix our issues? Or would you say that it should remain? So
it should remain, because without ad revenue, well, A, most content creators won't get any money, and B, neither would the website, so then the website would shut down. And the issue is not really, in my opinion, the ads itself.
I meant to say the companies.
It is.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
No, it's not even the companies themselves. It's the left-wing activists who keep on, pushing these companies to not advertise on your videos.
So
that's the issue.
So what you're saying is that, people who control the narrative essentially are influencing these companies to make these decisions, even if that's not necessarily reflective of reality.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fair enough. So we got a super chat from the Jim Jesus Hale, and he says it's important. It's important. Hale Meth. It's important to make meatballs. Indeed, it is very important to make meatballs. I actually had meatballs this week. Crappy Iceland ones, but they were cooked very well. So.
I bet you like putting balls in your mouth, you massive gay.
I don't know, but considering your propensity for ball-shaped rocks.
I don't have a single ball-shaped rock. They're all very angular, thank you.
Well, a pebble is very round.
If I don't have a pebble, I have rocks.
Oh, is pebbles like the pebbles like baby rocks?
They're very small, yeah. Yeah, they're technically still. Rocks is more an umbrella term. That's what people don't understand.
So how is it an umbrella term then? Just to go off topic for a bit for the audience.
Because a stone's a rock, a rock bed is a rock. A rock is. I mean, I think the definition of a rock's just a collection of minerals in the form of a rock-like substance, but they use a different word. But then it's like the umbrella term under that. You've got stone, pebble, even a grain of sand. That's technically a rock. It's there are actually two definitions. So the first one is the solid mineral material forming part of the surface of the Earth and other similar planets exposed on the surface or the underlying soil. So that's like your rock beds. That's like what you walk on when you're going up Snowdon or other mountains. Have you ever been to the Rocky Mountains, Chicago?
Yeah, 12 times as a matter of fact.
Oh, bloody hell. It's one of the places I want to go to. But yeah,
that's jealous.
I am jealous, to be fair. They give me. I've seen pictures and it gives me an erection.
Well, that's
everybody post your
big
rock gang stuff in the chat.
And then the second definition is a large piece of rock. What the fuck? So a rock is a large piece of rock. Okay, I assume that means, version 1, which has become detached from a cliff or mountain, i.e. a boulder. There you go. And there's a third definition, used to refer to someone or something that is extremely strong, reliable, or hard. So the rock. And then the fourth definition, which is informal and dated, apparently it meant money. So it's so like a boulder's a rock, a stone's a rock. It's basically just a collection of minerals to create just a substance, I guess, a solid substance.
A collection of chemicals.
Well, that's what the mineral would be, yeah. But then the rock is that collection of minerals. And it can be the same mineral, it can be different minerals. So, sandstone, that's just the same mineral. But then you get a piece of granite, that's about 5 different types of minerals all put together.
For example.
Limestone would be
What
one
about
type
soil?
of mineral, yeah.
What about soil? I guess that's
Soil,
different,
yeah,
isn't
that's
it?
technically a rock. No, that's all just. You can get different types. You can get sandy soil. You can get clay soil.
You can get
You can get
limestone
what's it?
soil, right? Like in the
You can get
Balkans.
limestone soil. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I recently learnt about that in one of the books I'm reading, and it's not very good for. Well, you can still farm on it. It's just not very good.
It's not great. It's very alkali, and you want it. You want it less alkali than that.
Do you want it neutral or acidic or?
You don't want it neutral. I think you want it. I think you want it at about a pH of about 7.4 or something like that.
So that's acidic, isn't it? Yeah, because 5 and 6 is more
acidic.
neutral, right?
Acidic's low. No. Above 7's alkali. Below 7's
See,
acidic.
I used to know all this crap. But anyway, let's move on to the final bit, though, guys.
Yeah, go on.
So, any potential solutions? What would you guys do to fix this issue?
I'll tell you as soon as my erection goes away. Okay, I've stopped thinking of rocks. It's the solution I've been saying all night. As soon as governments treat these platforms like publishers that they are, we'll probably see the issue resolved in about 2 weeks. Because they will all of a sudden have so many $1 million lawsuits against the government, they'll just go, fine, we'll stop censoring people. That's when they'll care about money, when they no longer have cultural influence. And that is the way to stop them.
Chicago?
My solution would just be take money out of politics with just campaign finance reform, because then big companies like Google and Twitter would not be able to go and finance politicians anywhere near as much, and therefore they have less control over politicians. And then Haryan's proposal actually becomes a distinct possibility.
Would you suggest any law changes, like legislation, to aid with that, or would you rather the government kind of keep out of it as it currently is? Oh, well, it depends where you are in the world, obviously. But
Well, you need one to go with the other. Like, you need to go and ensure that corporations cannot just buy and sell politicians to each other, and then you can go and have politicians actually enforce the legislation that we already have on said corporations.
And
So basically, fuck lobbyists.
So how would you? How do I phrase this now in my head? How would you make sure that, for example, people like Susan Wojcicki are not incentivized to censor people for political reasons? Is that just always going to be an inevitability, or is there ways
That was
to?
going to be an inevitability, but that's when you actually enforce the law on them.
And how do you is a thing, because another reason why all these companies can do what they want is because well, I made a video on it a while ago. I said there's basically like a Silicon Valley cartel of sorts.
Look at him shilling.
Well, no, it's an old video anyway, but
I know.
But basically, like how they removed Gab and Maybe Minds. They've removed, like for example, they definitely moved the Center app off their app stores. Yet allowing you to download the Apple Store off Google Play. Would you say that Would you say that the fact that these are massive corporations and they may or may not be trusts, because I think Google are currently being sued or under investigation for being a trust, would you say that what we really need is the market to open up more? Like, it's not really a case of the government needing to do anything, or if they do need to do something, if possible, to make the market bigger so that other corporations can grow and evolve. And because as we've seen, some I think it was definitely Subscribestar was attacked by other corporations so that they couldn't host people like us, by these corporations. And I think there's one of the YouTube lawyers is which one is it? Leonard French. Yeah, he's trying to get the FCC to investigate PayPal or Google, Apple, one of them, for doing that to either BitChute or Subscribestar. So, what would you say about that? Do you know what I'm trying to say? About so should it be a case of trying to make sure that the market is not being, in any way, shape or form, abused by these corporations? Is it because they're a bit more like monopolies that we have issues as well? How would you fix that, basically?
Well, for that, you actually need to go and have corporations have less influence over politicians, because then politicians wouldn't just sit by while they keep on, skirting regulations and making themselves much larger than they should be. And then we don't have any companies that become too big to fail. Because keep in mind, the free market actually really hates large corporations.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Yeah.
Economies of scale and diseconomies of scale, right?
Yeah.
So basically, in the true free market, YouTube would basically have gone out of business 12 years ago, essentially, if not 14, because they're not profitable, yet they're able to run largely through Google and do whatever they want. So there's no incentive for them to change. Would you agree?
Once Google doesn't have the government support needed for us to continue running its enormous apparatus, they're going to have to go and make some very serious changes to their corporate structure.
You just made me remind me of something, because is something. So Google, I think, this might have been Amazon actually, but it could be any one of them. So some of those companies, they had actual government grants, didn't they, when they were starting up?
Yeah.
Right. So that means, technically speaking, they should really be liable to the public for what they're doing, right? Would you agree?
Oh, very much so.
What about you,
Because
Haryan?
they were started with taxpayer money.
Yeah. So therefore, really, would you say that they shouldn't be doing that because of these government grants? Because it's our money, well, your money, Chicago, really, not our money, going into that. Because it's American, the American government, isn't it? It wasn't really the British government. Maybe the British government did, but definitely the Americans.
I wouldn't be surprised if the British government also did similar grants.
Yeah, I mean, America is a place to invest in because it's so stable. But anyway, have you got any other solutions?
Well, it's not stable per se, but it's more stable than most.
Exactly, yeah. So anything else you guys would like to suggest to fix the issue?
I'll say, I've said my way to fix it enough. I think doing that would stop the lobbying anyway. Another way to stop lobbying is to just have a smaller government, because the government influences less, you'll get less lobbying, because there's less to influence.
Well, if you have the government have less lobbying and also less influence on the economy, then it's going to become smaller.
Well, exactly, yeah.
Then a lot of those bureaucrats become redundant.
I just want to be free, dude.
I know. I feel your pain. But anyway, I think we've run the course. We've got a few minutes, so I'm going to just take a few comments from the chat, so we can go on.
Oh no.
So P-Man was making something interesting that we can talk about for about 5 minutes. He says in the UK...
What, is frog face?
Yeah, frog face. No,
go on.
No, because he said something interesting. In the UK, we do not have private property. This is because of council tax, where if you do not pay the state... Well, you do not pay, sorry, the state has the right to take your home or other assets. Even if you own the home, you are renting from the state. So would you say that council tax means that we don't actually have any property rights in this country? I mean, do you have anything equivalent to that?
I won't go.
Chicago.
Sorry about that. I was not paying attention. I spaced out.
I'll just requote it. So, in the UK, we do not. This is what P-Man says in his opinion. In the UK, we do not have private property. This is because of council tax, where if you do not pay, the state has the right to take your home or other assets, even if you own the home you are renting from the state. Does that mean that we have no private property rights, would you say?
By technicality, yes, that is exactly what it means.
Mm-hmm. Do you have anything like that in the US?
We have eminent domain.
That's what I was thinking of earlier. Ariane,
and we do have civil asset forfeiture during, if a jury of your peers deems you guilty of a crime, then yes, they can seize your assets.
Haryan, what do you think? Does that mean we have no private property in the UK?
Well, because you pay council tax. Not necessarily. I mean, I'm not a fan of tax, but it's like you pay the tax. They don't leave you alone, obviously, but that's for different reasons.
Knock knock. Time to pay.
Yeah,
up.
exactly. Yeah, it's like I'm one of those people. I'm one of those people that knows taxation is theft, but struggles to say it unironically. I don't think you don't have property rights because you pay council tax. I mean, from there you can say you don't have property rights because you pay any sort of tax.
Exactly.
Which it's like, okay, I see your point, but I think it's just a very autistic way to go about it. I'd rather see a world without tax, but I don't know a better system. Apart from obviously, your voluntary pay to the government, which I'm sure a lot of people will, especially rich people. They want the police force more than anyone.
It's a very interesting argument, and I can see what he's saying.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as that. I mean, is his comment on the sidebar or?
Yeah, it wasn't a super chat or anything. I just thought it was
No,
interesting when I saw it. Excuse me, not Corona. So
Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah,
we've hit the hour mark, so I think it's time to end it there. We've completely exhausted the topic. Considering that we didn't do much prep, and you two agreed more.
We agreed.
I know. What the hell was going on with that?
We agreed, and then we both didn't do much prep.
Yeah, I was hoping you would.
Because I unfortunately had a lot of stuff come up for those 2 months, so yeah.
Don't worry, I'll try and find
excuses.
Somebody. I'll find somebody.
I had just to do like Mother's Day. Come on, man.
I think. Oh yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah. Well, we have ours like 1 month ago, 2 months ago, whenever it was. I can't remember.
For me, it was like 5 days ago.
But I think we'll definitely do more stuff like this. Definitely in the future.
Yeah.
But I was actually thinking.
It was nice being civil with no neoliberals in the chat.
Alcazar can be when he's
Alcazar would have been good on this, yeah.
Actually, he would have been a more dissenting voice, I reckon.
He would have been a fucking retard. Yeah, I agree.
At the very least, he didn't become a Georgist. We love you, really, Alcazar. But anyway, final words, Mr. Haryan, my priest.
Don't let your priest rape you.
Exactly.
Love rocks. Free speech is the pinnacle.
Hashtag rock gang.
But I am not letting any fucking communists spout their bullshit on my property.
Hippity hoppity.
There we go.
My rockety. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Precisely.
Chicago. Any last words for you?
Biden supporters mad.
Oof. Alcazari. And my final words to you guys is it's filthy Frank, motherfucker. It's filthy Frank, bitch.
Oh, he got us.